everybody. Welcome back to the Drive Pink Dialogue. We are about 3 seconds from a 3-0 loss to FC Cincinnati. Inter Miami goes to TQL Stadium and comes away with not a point, not a goal, not even a positive to get behind in what I would consider a not very impressive performance, but also something that was not out of the blue. The only thing that really was different, in my opinion, about this game compared to the last few is that Inter Miami did not get a brace from Messi. And without that, they looked limp and without answers. This is the raw reaction. Get your comments in the chat. We will talk about everything related to this game. But before all of that, I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How are you feeling about that game, my friend?
I got the score prediction correct. I predicted Cincinnati would score 3 goals. Well, unfortunately, Miami didn't score the 3 goals that I predicted, but at least I got half of the scoreline right. Tonight, the chickens came home to roost. It's as simple as that. We were the inferior team above and beyond and by far. Cincinnati schooled us. There's no excuse at all. I'm okay with this because we were so poor throughout. There's no hard feelings about this. We were inferior at every part of the pitch. The tactics, the coaching, everything was just not up to the par. And Cincinnati, led by Evander, just absolutely wrecked us. We got our analysis spot on about how Cincinnati is going to play. I have a few interesting thoughts, but first I want to push back on your point that there's no positives. Yannick Bright's back. Yannick Bright's back.
Yeah,
And he had
Kamaski played well.
No,
thought
yeah,
Kamaski played well.
absolutely.
It was
Kamaski was,
okay.
I think, my man of the match. Phenomenal. I thought Segovia was really good. Those two have been building up a really good chemistry. And I think they look better than every player on that pitch together. I think even better than Messi. So a few positives, but those are like so far out and we're reaching for them that it doesn't feel like anything you can take away from this game as such. This was a long time coming, man. It's not surprising. I'm not surprised by this result. I don't think you're surprised by this result. I'm not even disappointed because I knew this was going to happen to some extent. And Cincinnati just proved that they are the team to beat in the East. Absolutely brilliant clinical performance from them. This is how you play in a good shape, maintaining a good defense, but absolutely being clinical in the final third and cutting the opposition apart. And they did that to perfection. Well done to them, man. That's all I'm going to say.
Let's just congratulations to Cincinnati. They were clearly the better team. I've given them a lot of praise because I think they have an excellent team. And guess what? They didn't have their number one striker. They didn't have their toolkit piece in Yuya Kubo. Their best defensive midfielder, not available for this game. No, he might be gone for the rest of the season in Wabodo. So they were missing some of their best players. And they still did this. They were clearly the better team, athletic, physical, clinical, dominant, really from start to finish. So
no, their setup was perfect. They had their game plan to perfection. They knew what they wanted to do. They played as a team.
Yeah. So hats off to them. Great game. Congratulations. 3 deserved points at home. I want to talk about Inter Miami because I don't. This wasn't about Cincinnati to me. This was about Inter Miami because this is how they've been playing for 80% of the season. It looks like this. They are very conservative for much of the game. And then when they push forward, you can see they have something going for them. You can see they can put the opponent under a little bit of pressure. But, and this is the concern I've had for so long and that I've been trying to raise the alarms for because so many people have said, oh, but they win. Oh, but they get results. Oh, but whatever. But the problem is, if you are always playing conservative, you play your attacking players out of form. And so Luis Suarez and Jordi Alba and Tadeo Allende and, Fafa Picault and whoever else you want to talk about that's an attacking player aside from Lionel Messi, they're not in form because they're not getting 3 shots a game. They're not getting a ton of opportunities. They're not keeping themselves confident. They're not keeping themselves in great form because they are, as a team, playing very conservative. And so when Messi scores 2 goals, you get the result on that night, but the player's confidence drops a little bit. their confidence in their crossing, their confidence in getting forward, their confidence in when they should make this pass, when they should be decisive. All of those things starts to wane over time. And then all of a sudden you get to a really good opponent on the road, you give up a goal early, you just have nothing to rely on because you haven't been working on these patterns of play. You haven't been building your confidence. You haven't been ironing out your tweaks, the kinks in your armor. You've been playing conservative. And for a mid-table team, that's fine, man. It's about getting results. It's about making the playoffs. It's about avoiding relegation. It's about whatever soccer thing you're trying to get done. But if you are the best team in the league, you have the talent of these superstars. Like, this isn't how you should be playing on a regular basis. And the thing is, this is exactly how they play on all the time. It's just that Messi didn't give them, a phenomenal performance tonight. It's the only difference.
There's no surprise. And I do want to dispel from the start 2 points of discourse that I think might come from this conversation, might come from this game specifically. Some people might say this team is tired. This was not about tiredness. This was not about energy levels. This wasn't about physicality. This wasn't about athleticism. You put out a completely fresh team that hasn't played for 2 weeks, that has just been on the training ground, and you play those exact same tactics, you're going to lose 9 out of 10 times. This was about being tactically outdone. This was not about not being able to cope with the physical levels. We were not set up to win this game correctly. We were just not.
And that was in training this week. It was in training a month ago. It was in training 3 months ago, because this is how they've been trying to play. And it's a stupid idea. Excuse my language.
Put any other player in any position, they're going to come out with a very similar result in this. I don't think any particular player was specifically, okay, we have a few players who weren't good at all, but majority of the players I think were above average. I think the midfield was good. Sergio Busquets good, Kremke good, Segovia good, but they weren't in the right setup to get anything out of this game. And when you're facing Cincinnati, who's a brilliantly set up team, you have to have the tactical nuance to beat them.
It's that they have no offense. Inter Miami doesn't have an offense. They have Messi.
This is my second point, right? This is the second point that I want to talk about. There's a difference between being conservative versus being defensive. Cincinnati tonight was a good defensive team. They were defensively incredibly solid. They didn't let anything go past them. Yes, Inter Miami had a couple of opportunities when they were trying to look for a goal, but Cincinnati, in their defensive shape, in their setup, in their man marking, in their zonal marking, were all well positioned, knew exactly what they wanted to do, were defensively solid. Inter Miami was conservative. There's a massive difference between the two things. And Inter Miami has been conservative for the longest time this entire season. We don't attack. We don't go hunting for goals. I texted you on the side. This is a different team when they're out hunting for goals, because it looks like this team is out for blood. But why can't we do that when the score is 0-0 and when the time on the clock is 0 minutes? We just don't do it. So there's no surprise that we lost this game tonight. I'm absolutely not shocked. Are you? I don't think so.
And again, I want to reiterate, this conservative nature they play, it builds on itself and it makes you worse and worse. So it's not just that they came into this game conservative. It's that the fact that they've been conservative for the last several months makes you worse over time. It makes you less able to flip the switch and go be aggressive. Makes you less likely to flip the switch and go get that goal you need. And all of a sudden, Suarez is out of form and he looks terrible. And you guys in the chat, Saur, you have certainly made sure he knows that he looks terrible. But all of a sudden, Jordi Alba, ineffectual down the left side. Tadeo Allende can't keep a ball to his foot to save his life. Like, they all play themselves in bad form because of the way you're playing. And it only gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And this is on Mascherano. And I know it feels like I blame everything on Mascherano, but this team would go out and beat teams 6-0 last year, 6-1. And sure, they would have some games where they'd get beat going the other way, but they were always attacking. And Suarez was never in bad form. Jordi Alba was never in bad form. And, whoever else playing up top, whether it was Diego Gomez or I guess Messi played on the right a lot, but Matthias Ross, they were never in bad form because they were constantly playing themselves. If they had a rough patch, playing through it, shooting through it, passing through it to make sure that if they have a bad moment, they have 3 others in the rest of the game to make up for it. They go home feeling good about themselves. All of that compiles onto itself game after game after game after game after game. And if you're not doing that, you get worse game after game after game after game after game. And by the way, I don't want to make this about him. Rodrigo de Paul doesn't fix this. This is a coaching philosophy that is wrong for Inter Miami, and they need to fix it. And I don't know how they fix it.
I do want to get to the chat, but I want to jump ahead a little bit because I saw Anton's chat and I want to address that. He says we have to disagree. They're scoring more goals than any other team in the league today. I think 6 of Inter Miami's last 8 goals have been scored by one individual. We don't have any offensive attacking play. We would just outrun throughout the night, lost the 50-50s. I don't believe so. I think our offense has been flattered over the last 5-6 games by how good Messi has been playing.
And
And
he's gotten a
today
few
you could
gifted to
see
him.
he had a few gifted to him. We created those. It's fine. Let's not undersell that. Okay,
Somehow.
fine. But I think the crux of the matter is our patterns of play aren't there, at least in the MLS. We saw an identity in the Club World Cup when we were underdogs. But as soon as we have the onus on us to create offense, as soon as we are the ones who have to drive the narrative, take charge of the game, there's no specific tactics. How was it that as soon as we went down 2-0, this Inter Miami team started to push forward, started looking good, created opportunity? Why didn't we do that for the 60 minutes of the entire game? That's all mindset. That's tactics. That's how we've been drilled. Mascherano doesn't want this team to take too many risks. We're very risk averse. And that feeds into everything. The rotation compounds in the conservatism. You don't have players who are in form at all. This is going to get a very depressing episode very quickly. So let's just get to the chat because I'm sure they have a lot of things to get off their chest as well. But it was just wrong tactics all around. It was just a completely wrong setup.
But not just today. It's
not
a
just
bigger
today.
picture
Not
thing.
just today. Today was when the chickens came home to roost, as I said at the start. This is the culmination and manifestation of everything we've done over the last.
I do want to say the Club World Cup, I include the 3 games before it. They brought an intensity level that they needed to compete at that level that they're never, ever going to be able to sustain going back into the regular season. So I really think as far as what this team is, what they can do moving forward, the Club World Cup is irrelevant. That was a special, unique tournament, and we celebrated it at the time like it was a special, unique tournament, but it's irrelevant towards now. Okay, the chat. Anton says the lack of rotation is once again causing its problems. It was a matter of a time. Half the team needs a break. So 2 things on that. One, yes, they do need to rotate more. I mean, they're
absolutely.
down 3-0, and all 4 of the Barcelona 37-year-olds, 38-year-olds are still out there playing 90 minutes. It's just silly. And that's on the coaching staff. But also, we've seen the same team play the same way, even when they're fresh. So philosophically, they looked like this because this is how they are supposed to look, according to Javier Mascherano. But certainly lack of rotation is not a benefit. And we have been crying and screaming about this since the 2nd game of the MLS season, back when they played Houston. So we get it. Tony says the team is everything back. It's true. Everyone but Messi, Busquets, and Jordi Alba a little bit just does not play the ball forward very often.
There's nobody in this team who plays the ball forward. I think I do want to say, though, I thought in a vacuum, away from the context, I thought Kramaski was really good. I think probably better than I've seen him this entire season. I thought Segovia looked very, very good. But those 2 were the only good things about this game for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Okay. Well, I'm sure the chat will take us to a bunch of different places. Russell says Mascherano out. Listen, between the
It's not
Orlando City
happening.
game, between the Orlando City game when they lost 3-0 and last game, and hopefully continues moving forward, Messi has gone to an unbelievable level in his output. And that has carried this team to results after result after result after result, whether it was in the Club World Cup or against Columbus or against Nashville or against Montreal, whoever it was against. Messi has individually brought this team to where they are right now, but that was never going to be sustainable. Almost everything they did in the first 8 weeks of the season was also because Messi was in incredible form. The minute Messi's form dropped, they went through that terrible streak. And hopefully this is just an outlier and he gets, another brace this weekend against the Red Bulls. But if his form drops off, Inter Miami is going to start losing a bunch. And it's tough. And again, like the thing with the coaching staff is it's too late now, I think, to fire him, because the other coach, if you brought in a new coach, you'd want to give them a player or two in the transfer window. You'd want to talk to them about how they'd like to finish the season. Like I think we're getting to the point where
Now,
it's over. So
yeah, let's not even talk about changing coaches. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do it.
During the season.
Yes, this season. Yeah.
Vice Rosa says Mascherano has went back to the dumb mindset that we were losing to Dallas in that bad streak. Again, I think if you really look back on it, this is what the mindset has been for the vast majority of our season. A couple exceptions. Like I said, I think 80%. This has been what we've tried to do. Gabriela says deserved loss. Upcode says, well, that was rough. Nick Smith says best part is they'll just blame that on being tired and nothing will change. I need to sit on that one for a second. Steve Munoz says this is what happens when there's no proper rotations and everyone jogs around the pitch. Also, when Toto starts, Tony says this was garbage. Anton says, why didn't they take the stars out at the end?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
I know. Mascherano's afraid of them.
That's true. That's actually true.
It's true. I don't know. I mean, there's no other explanation. Brad says, unbelievable. The game was already over at 70 minutes. Why not sub the old guys out? He's afraid of them. Russell says, sorry to say, but we can't be the best team in the MLS with this coach. Sit on that one.
I doubt it.
And it's so sad because we're going to add Rodrigo de Paul. We're going to have clearly the best roster in the MLS. Yeah. And we're still not. We're still going to rely on Messi to get us anything we're going to get. Okay, let's stop here. Anton says, Cello was terrible as we circled. I think he must be hurt because ever since that Palmeiras game, he came off early. At the very end, I think he came off in like the 95th minute or something. Maybe it wasn't the Palmeiras game, but since the end of the Club World Cup, he's gotten just burned, toasted like a marshmallow in every single game. I mean, Peyton Miller was doing it for New England. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia was doing it for PSG. We saw it last game. Jacob Schaffelberg got him a couple times. This game, Orejano was just toying with Cello Wegon. And I think Cello, I've come a very long way on Cello that I'm not really willing to just go back to he's terrible. And so he has to be hurt. And they don't have another right back, and so he's playing through it. But that's the best explanation I have because, again, he was really bad today.
Awful. My worst player on the pitch. Absolutely got torched a few times. Allende was a close second, by the way. Very close second. I was looking at him and I was thinking to myself, this is terrible. Bring on Fafa Pico as soon as possible because it was bad.
Gabriela says this team is so tired. We need rotation, but we won't get in. By the way, we are out of breaks. Inter Miami's gonna play the most games for the rest of the season. So there's no rest for the weary. And the frustrating part about that is, if you'll allow me to look up our bench pieces tonight, Leo Alfonso has proven he can be an effective player in this league. Has game winners under his belt. Never sees the field. David Ruiz, same thing. Fafa Biko, same thing. Fafa hasn't played recently a ton.
And he was, I think, better than half the players once he came on. He was at
Yeah.
least trying.
David Ruiz has proven he can play in this league. There's plenty of guys that have been on our bench that have proven they are good enough to give you 60 minutes, keep you in the game, and let your big guys come out after that to see if you need them. But it's just so terrible. Cringe says this has been a terrible game. Weigant was trash. He says Crema was trash, but I disagree with that. Backline
I
was
think he was
poor. The
man of the
midfield was
match for me.
closed down completely. Busquets was terrible. Awful game. Let's just stop on Busquets there for a second. I thought there was 3 levels to this. There was really poor, like average to maybe a little below average, and then I thought Segovia and Kramaski were good. I would put Busquets in the average to below average. I thought Messi was in the same boat. Suarez, maybe Alba. I don't know if I would put Ustadi in there. Some of the bench guys. There was a lot of bad performances in this game.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd put Busquets in that.
I'll be honest, even if you do change some of those bad performances, I still don't think we win. We're just so conservative. Yeah.
No, but that's the whole thing. And that's what I keep trying to get across is when you play this conservative, you play all your guys into bad form. Because even going the other direction, if you play high up the field and you're constantly having to defend in transition emergency situations, your defenders get better at it and they make a stop and they get more confident. And your goalkeeper's facing shots and he makes a save. He gets more confident. Like, it's a confidence thing that you need reps. Every once in a while, it does bite you in the butt. And we saw it last year, right? This very game against Cincinnati, lost 6-1. It bit them in the butt. The New York Red Bulls game, they lost 4-0. Like, that'll happen twice a year. In exchange, you get to be the most dominant offensive force in the league for the other 90% of the year. And instead, we get this. And it's just, the defense is worse than last year, by the way.
Yeah.
It's just worse.
Which is saying something because last year was very bad as well.
Well,
you need to write a 10,000 word open letter to Javi Mascherano.
No, it wasn't. The thing is, it wasn't bad last year. It was just the worst part of Inter Miami. So we were constantly talking about how to improve it. We need a center back. We need to stop relying on Drake to be amazing all the time. Like, we were focused on it because it was the only problem last year. Now that we have 15 problems, it doesn't feel as bad, but it's actually worse.
By the way, can I just say, I don't mean to kick him while he's down, but I think Ustari is the only goalkeeper I've seen in football who gets injured on the pitch so many times. I've never seen a goalkeeper get injured on the pitch so many times. Never.
I would make a joke about that at the end of the episode when we find some silver linings. Right now, I'm still just smashing players, and I don't necessarily need to smash him right now.
Okay.
Or
smash Rocco instead with that third goal that he let in.
I'm not going to smash Rocco because you never want to stub your toe on a rock, but also, listen, he's a third string goalkeeper. He came in when he was called upon, like in a game we were already losing 1-0. We lost 3-0. It's fine. Sean says Maxi is bad, maybe worse than Redondo. Falcone, I thought had a bad game, and I can imagine some people saying he had a good game because I thought his in the box defending was okay. But man, in transition against physical attackers, I mean, Kai Kamara just had his number.
He was
times
on him all over. Yeah,
it was bad.
No, he was bad with his one-on-one defending as well, which he usually is better at. But today he just got completely ragdolled.
Upcode says now, unfortunately, we have to rotate against the Red Bulls, and that will not go well. But we have to.
Oh, man.
If you think we're going to rotate against the Red Bulls, I have swamp to sell you because we're running the same starting 11, except maybe throwing Gonzalo, Lujan, and Yannick Bright. This is going to be Suarez, Messi, Redondo, Allende, Segovia, Lujan, Ustadi, Alba, Busquets. It's going to be the same guys, maybe with a change or two.
We can't lose to Red Bulls, please.
Sean Callahan says Hadebi from Cincy was the man of the match. I will just say, I saw him. He looks like he's 6'6". He's listed on the Cincinnati website at 5'11". So if anyone's ever wondered if the MLS websites are accurate, that should tell you. Because this guy is 6'6", and he's listed at 5'11". Vamos says, this is what happens when our game plan is pass it to Messi. Okay. to get serious and talk turkey for a second, we couldn't get the ball to Messi, and that has been it for us offensively. And so what you saw in the second half, especially after they go down 2 goals, is Cello and Jordi Alba starting to push higher up the field and create more passing lanes. But they did that when they were down 2-0. And I remember having this same conversation like 3 months ago when they were in the midst of just being unable to do anything offensively, where it was like, you need to get your fullbacks involved because you can't score. And as you noted, they go down 2-0 and they start to poke and prod a little bit like they should be. And if they play that way for 90 minutes, they're going to win a heck of a lot of games. And
Yeah.
if they only do it when they're down by 2 goals, you're going to lose a lot of games when you give up the first goal. So Miami King says Suarez was bad again and Alba did not play well either. Suarez was bad. Sure. He was also far from the problem in this game. Jerry says, guys, your analysis 6 weeks ago, this team is not elite and clearly is a notch below at least 2 other teams in the East. Why? But why a game already lost? They kept Messi and Luis all in for the whole game. Why? We've been talking about this for months. And even when things got better, we were like,
you more so than myself. I was still conservative about my opinions, but you were definitely hammering home this point, and it's coming true, man.
No, it's the coach. It's Mascherano and his coaching staff. I mean, listen, I don't know what Mascherano's coaching staff is like, and that's not to deflect blame from him because he's absolutely responsible for it. He's a rookie coach. Maybe like 2 of his assistants have 25 years of experience and he relies on them more than he should. But obviously he's still responsible. I don't know if it's just him or if it's his whole coaching staff, I guess is my point. But they're terrible. And
isn't Javi Morales still with the coaching staff? I think he is.
He is.
And he was under Tata as well. So
Javi, well, he's been with Miami for years.
Yeah.
He was the interim coach before Tata was hired. His time as interim manager, I don't think filled me with confidence that he was like a tactics guy, which is fine. Not everyone is, but also you're the head coach of the team that's supposed to be the best team in MLS, and you're just awful at your job. And by the way, we haven't even gotten into the really bad things about Mascherano's coaching job in this episode. Upcode says we've been exhausted for 2.5 matches now. Sure, but that hasn't changed the way we've played because we've played this way for 80% of the season. And I think that's maybe my biggest takeaway from this is, were they tired today? Yeah, probably.
Maybe, yeah.
Is part of that because they haven't rotated? Yeah, certainly. But they played this same way in game 2 of the season. So, and they played the same way for 80% of the season, whether they've had a week off or 2 weeks off or 2 days off, right? 3 days off. It looks the same 80% of the time. Summer Sunshine says that's why we always say we need other people to step up, but our team looked very tired. Who's going to step up? Suarez is in terrible form. Allende's now in bad form again. Jordi Alba's in bad form. Like, these are the guys you're supposed to have step up because they're your creative pieces on offense.
Rodrigo De Paul. That's not going to change anything. Nothing.
Like, the thing about it is it might change things for a bit.
For like
sometimes
3-4 games, yeah, bounce.
Yeah, you
New
get like a
signing
bounce. Exactly. And maybe maybe it'll extend all the way through the League Cup, but it's not going to extend all the way through the MLS Cup. Manny says we're not winning a single trophy this season. Naya says we were horrible. I knew it was too good to be true. See, we did know it was too good to be true.
I'm not even like
good.
I'm not even disappointed with this game because I knew this was gonna happen. Like, it's not surprising.
When they scored the first goal, it was like, okay, the only way we're going to have a chance in this game is if Messi just has some magic moments. The rest of the team wasn't going to do anything. You could tell in the first 10, 15 minutes. But fundamentally, this is a lack of rotation problem, says Anton. I think this is the one you started with. So I will just leave it at, again, look back at Javier Mascherano for not more rotation. Like, everything comes back to him in a very real way. And whether you want to call him amateurish, inexperienced, let me put it that way, or not up to the job, like however you want to frame it, right? Maybe you think he's going to be a great coach in 10 years, but the expectations and talent on this roster deserves better coaching.
I think the nail in the coffin will actually be if Cincinnati comes to Chase Stadium and beats us again. That for me is going to be unforgivable.
The nail in what coffin? He's not going to get fired
That's
this
good.
season.
That's a good question. Let me think about that when I get back to you.
Brad says some of those goals are unforgivable. Those first 2 goals were really poor. Cello literally let Cincinnati score, and he was trying to blame Aviles.
It felt like Cello was walking while Orejano was just cruising past him multiple times.
Remember, he got hurt and he hurt his butt or something.
Yeah, I know.
And I think maybe he hurt his like glute medius or something, like a muscle that helps him turn, because he's just been getting turned, and his like quick hip flip, the hip flip is so slow that he's just getting burned by everyone. And it's happened in every single game since we came back to the MLS, except for maybe Montreal, which Montreal's terrible.
I think I know the answer. I think I know the answer to all our problems. Taylor Twelman's no longer on commentary. That's what we need him back. As he comes back,
we're not good enough to get him. No, we're not good enough. He does the big games.
We're not good enough for Taylor Twelman. Can you believe that?
Tunde says, can this be chalked off to fatigue? I think we've certainly answered that question. Because there's a serious chance that if Messi has an off day, we crash and burn, but it's difficult to call from one game. It's not one game. This has been the majority of our games. The last 2 games were this exact performance without Messi getting a brace. It's the same performance. Cincinnati's a little better. They were at home. They're a little more clinical. You could put it on a little bit better. But Inter Miami would have lost the last 2 games also if it wasn't for Messi. And it would have looked exactly like this if Messi hadn't played.
Sorry, but Jan from Messi & Co. is calling you out for making up muscles. The hip flex. I think you may have called the hip flexor the hip something. Yeah.
Well, you have your glute medius that helps, is like your whatever.
I'm not a physiologist. I wouldn't know. I trust you, Scotty. Like in everything else, I trust you.
Jerry says Inter Miami clearly is a team with no other striker that strikes fear on any other team. Occasionally a goal here or there for Allende and Segovia, but that's it. I'm telling you guys, if everyone's playing poorly, it's not the player's fault. I understand Suarez looks terrible. I understand Alba looks bad. I understand Busquets looks bad. I understand Allende looks bad. I understand that these guys don't look good. If they all look bad, it's a systemic problem. These guys are too talented. They didn't all drop off a cliff the same second that Mascherano came. That's not how this worked. They fell off a cliff because they're being forced to play a style that fundamentally doesn't suit their talent, and it takes them out of their own form. They don't get confidence, and they're unable to replicate the success they've had in the past because they're not given the opportunity. This is a Mascherano thing, and it gets worse every single game. And occasionally you will have moments where they collect it all together and their individual talent shines. We've seen that a couple times this year. The LAFC home leg where they came and overturned a 2-0 deficit. It was awesome. But that's the exception this season. It's the exception. 80% of their games have been flat and have looked very much like this. And sure, they've won some of them, but not because they've been dominant, but because they have a couple individual superstars that have won them games. Because Mascherano has no tactical game, they were just passing the ball in the back line and hoping for Messi to do something. And they struggled to get Messi the ball. I thought Cincinnati did a good job of covering him up. That is something Rodrigo de Paul might help, getting the ball to Messi, carrying it through a midfield in order to create passing lanes to get it to Messi. I think that is something de Paul will be really good at. Talk to me about Segovia's game.
I enjoyed it. I really like how he gets on the ball and how he finds the spaces. And I think he was quite crispy with his passing, very good with defending the ball with his body and just press resistant. I thought he was positive all around, had a good counter pressing game in the middle as well. And good by this standards of this game, not good by any other standards. One of the better players on the pitch. I know some people complain about his off the ball movement, but I think what he does on the ball is so much better to get him on the ball more. There were a couple of sequences with himself, Sergio Busquets and Messi, where they just passed it one touch up the field, and you're like, hey, this looks good. But they need to do more of that, man. They need to get him involved more because he's one of the better creators when it comes to playing with the ball.
I agree. Steve says it's not even about being conservative. It's about effort and desire. Everyone was jogging in all areas of the game. I just disagree with this. I don't think you have to up the effort or the off ball movement or anything to play a more aggressive style. It just means you push the pace when you have possession. And we've seen them do this so much. And you guys commented all the time. They're consistently passing the ball sideways, passing it back. And that comes from the coaching staff. They're trying to play a safe, reserved style of soccer to keep what I would consider control of the game. But when you have players that are this clinical, and I'll tell you a stat that came up in the game, or someone on Twitter posted earlier today, but they do this to themselves because they don't really work hard to create a ton of chances for themselves.
This team has, I think, some of the least created chances in the league.
Can I just tell you this stat real quick because it is relevant? I think Messi has 10 goals on 4 XG, and it shows you how clinical he is and how good he is at taking very few opportunities and turning them into a ton of goals. And that's the same thing with Suarez. We saw it last year. It's the same thing with a lot of our players. They're incredibly clinical, and that's what makes them elite talents. But that's why you should push it to try and get 8 XG so you get 20 goals out of Messi. Get it to 12 XG so you can get 30 goals out of Messi. You don't take that and say, oh, because Messi's so clinical, we don't need to create as many chances. You should do it the other way and try and score more goals. Miami King says Scotty Suarez is the most key issue this season. I said this from day one. I do want to say this. If you disagree with me about Suarez, it's totally fine. It does not hurt my feelings. I feel like I've tried to lay out why I'm defending Suarez. But if you're not convinced by that, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. That's totally cool. Nick Smith says we had 2 shots on target. I'm sure they were both from Messi. From Messi, they're saying. Anton says we did not do a good job of stretching their defense. Let's talk about Allende because he's been really poor since we came back from the Club World Cup. Maybe he was okay in that Montreal game, but 3 just absolute stinkers in a row. I don't know. I don't have any defense for it.
I don't even know what to say, man.
No, it's bad. It's bad.
He would get the ball and then lose the ball. He looks really clunky out there. He looks so awkward playing football right now, and it doesn't look good at all. Earlier, he used to look smooth and in control of the ball. Now it's just like a bunch of limbs flopping around. It's
the touch is,
the
touch is so bad.
Yeah.
It's he has the worst touch. I don't like. Rocco is literally made out of granite, and he has a better touch. Rocco
we need to see what Will Yarbrough is made of. We need to compare Will Yarbrough and Tadeo Allende.
I'm serious. Drake Callender has a better touch than Tadeo Allende.
Yeah,
like
that's not a surprise.
Well, I mean, he is a goalkeeper that people think can't play with his feet, and he has a better touch than Tadeo Allende. Jerry says it's currently designed to play. This team will not win anything against top teams. 100% agree. This team's designed is the schemes are boring and too conservative. Can't and won't change that in the middle of the year. Here's what I want to say. I was thinking someone mentioned this in the Rodrigo de Paul. She did, and I really thought about it and I liked it. The fundamental issue that I think is true that Inter Miami doesn't have an answer for, and certainly Javier Mascherano doesn't have an answer for, is I think Messi wants to play in a front 2 with Suarez. I think that's what he wants. And I remember going back to last year, Tata Martino tried to play that 3-5-2, and it just didn't work. But he was good enough and respected enough to change it. I don't think Javier Mascherano can change out of this Messi Suarez up top. And so I do think maybe that a 3-5-2 is the way for this team to play moving forward because, and the key to this is you put Busquets on the back line. And all of a sudden, if you give me DePaul, Segovia, and Bright in the midfield, or Kramaski, you start getting very athletic in the midfield all of a sudden. You win a lot more balls. You have 2 wide wingbacks playing higher up the field in Alba and Ian Frey, hopefully, that can be more effective getting up the field. I would be much more interested in that, assuming you put Busquets on the back line.
I actually really like that.
I know. I liked it too. And the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. Not sure Javier Mascherano would ever consider going there, but
No.
yeah. I'm just going to some chats. Steve says he disagrees about Busquets. He looked gassed in the first half. He did have some turnovers, but like I said, I think there was some really poor performances, and I wouldn't
And
put
some
him in
average,
that category.
yeah.
Jerry says Philly, Cincy, and Columbus are 3 teams that are a notch better than our team, and it's not the players, 100% the tactical designs and philosophy. I agree 100%.
That, I think, is the best way to sum it up.
Tunde says, I was talking about rest. Keep dreaming. It's the same squad playing the next 3 games. It's only going to be Yannick Bray and Lujan. Those are the only 2 changes we're going to see on Saturday.
Of course, we're going to see Lujan play for sure. And we're never not going to see Lujan play again.
Cringe says last year we had aggressive attacking players. Everyone just went for goal. Now we just have a bunch of guys that just look for Messi. It's a philosophy. You think Jordi Alba wants to play that conservatively? Of course not. He wants to get forward and whip balls in and pad that stat number, that assist number. This is a Javier Mascherano led decision. And if he tells you he can't tell those guys how to play, he is feeding you nonsense, because he is absolutely telling them how to play.
Yep.
Anton says, I think we have to disagree. They are scoring more goals than any other team in the league. Today, they were just outrun throughout the night, lost the 50-50s. Here's what I will say. They're scoring less goals than last year. I think Inter Miami had 52 goals after their 20th game, and now they have 44. It's like almost half a goal a game less. But beyond that, Messi has played way more games this year than he did last year. I think he's missed 2 MLS games this year. He missed 7 or 8. I think he missed 8 games by this time last year. So, yes, the goals don't seem that different, but it's because Messi's been unbelievable. And if it wasn't for the fact that Messi's gotten 17 goal contributions in the last 6 games, it wouldn't look anything like this.
Can you believe that? We've been carried by Messi this entire time. We would be so far down if he wasn't part of the team.
The season will be over. We would be fighting for a playoff spot if it wasn't for Messi. And I mean, if he went to the Copa America, like if there was a Copa America this summer, we would be fighting for a playoff spot. And we're supposed to be the best team in the league without Messi. Here, I'll let you take this one. So, don't we have offense? The key issue is the striker, says Miami King. If a team with a bad striker, how the offensive tactics can be done.
We don't have offense because we don't push ourselves higher up the pitch. The team itself is so disjointed. First, we sit back all the time. Our passing is very passive, constant horizontal passes. And I think maybe we should do a little bit of research into the numbers of horizontal passing versus vertical passing. And when you don't have the verticality, when you're not constantly pushing up, you saw in the second half, as soon as we were 2-0 down, the entire team pushed up, starting with Chelo Wigan, Jordi Alba. But this team has no offense because we don't take the risk of pushing us up further and creating those gaps, widening the pitch more. Because I think Javier Mascherano is too afraid that we're going to get beat in the transition or whatever it is. He'd rather take 1 or 2 opportunities and see if we can score from that. If not, then we're just going to play out a draw. It's very, very passive tactics, and you can't blame entirely the striker in this because everyone in that offensive line is struggling. They are. And I don't like Suarez.
I'm going to win you over to Suarez. You're going to hate Mascherano more than Suarez by the time I'm done with you.
I know. That's probably going to happen. But it's not going to work. And with Suarez up there, you need somebody who can play a slightly different style, which is very unique to that conservative style. Somebody who can come back and play almost as a pseudo midfielder, get involved in the game more. There are a couple of instances where Suarez had some good opportunities, but he just fluffed his lines. But then he had to come out wide to receive the ball in that 4-4-2. He sometimes plays as a winger. It's just all over the place. And I can do an entire podcast on why we're not scoring goals. But at the end of the day, it's the fact that we're sitting back, and not just sitting back in park the sense bus, park the bus sense, but sitting back, just not doing anything with the ball. We're just
They think
pinging
they're
it between
controlling the game.
ourselves.
They
They're
think
not.
they're controlling the game. That's what they think,
Cincinnati
though.
controlled the game today.
Yeah, today. We were poor in possession today. That's certainly true.
Yeah, because they didn't let us have the possession.
Brad says we need pacey wingers. It can't be Messi all the time. No one takes shots except for Messi. Loser mentality, truly. By the way, loser mentality. I've been calling this team, not this team, this coaching staff. They have loser mentality. I've been saying it since the Vancouver series. It's really pitiful. But about the wingers specifically, I want to say this. If Mascherano wanted to play with wingers, there would be wingers on this roster. So anyone that's saying, go get wingers, this team needs wingers. If Mascherano wanted that, Robert Taylor would still be here. Julian Gressel would still be here. Fafo Picault would play all the time. If he wanted there to be wingers, there would be wingers. It was his choice to build the roster this way, where our wingers are actually midfielders, or in Allende's case, a striker who has no touch. That's Mascherano's decision. Like, it's not the front office didn't screw him over. The front office didn't trade Robert Taylor. He decided he wanted nothing to do with Robert Taylor. He decided he wanted nothing to do with Julian Gressel. He decided this. He thought, he was like, I'm going to play Segovia as a winger. I'm going to play Kramaski as a winger. I'm going to play David Ruiz as a winger. He decided, I want my wingers to actually be midfielders. So anyone that's saying, go get a winger, you're either asking Mascherano to completely change his opinion on everything, in which case, good, but also it's an acknowledgement that this is on him in the first place. Or B, you're asking them to get a guy he's not going to use, just like Fafo Picault. So I think the call for wingers is like, I think, missing the idea that Upcode says, I thought I was depressed before. The call for wingers surprises me, because if they wanted wingers on this team, there would be wingers on this team. This is a Javier Mascherano decision to build this team like this. Okay, here's a good one, Saur. Ash asks, what are the best formation and tactics to maximize our strengths and minimize our weaknesses? Do you want me to go first?
Let me think about this one. You go first.
Okay, here's what I want to say. This is a team that should be playing way high up the pitch, so that Suarez and Messi don't have to run back and forth as much. That's where they should be playing. Now, what that means is you play with a high back line. You can't play with a high back line with Maxi Falcone and Gonzalo Lujan, because they are not that type of defender to be able to do that. They aren't quick. They're not pacey in transition. That's also Mascherano's fault for building a team whose center backs, his two big center additions, have no pace and are bad in transition. That's on Mascherano also. So what that means is you have to take Noah Allen, Toto Aviles, maybe and Ian Frey, maybe Sergio Busquets. You can have a slower center back in the middle, as long as the other two are pacey. And you got to put them on that back line. And then you have to play your fullbacks way high up the pitch. Give your midfielders some outlets. Give Busquets some outlets to dictate where he wants to go with the ball. Don't give him 1 or 1.5 avenues if it's just Messi and Suarez. The second thing, you need an extra player high up the pitch in order for Suarez and Messi to combine with. That was supposed to be Segovia, but as we found out, rightfully, Segovia plays much better, a little bit deeper. He needs to be in the midfield. And so if it's not going to be Segovia, it has to be someone else. We know Allende does not have the ticky-tack touch to play in combination with those players. He can make some runs in behind, but in terms of combining with Suarez and Messi, they don't trust them at all unless they're kicking the ball 30 yards. So get Alba high up the pitch to do that with them. Get another midfielder and or a left winger up the pitch to do that with them. And all of a sudden the offense will start flowing. Give another creative outlet to that right. Ian Frey at right back, maybe. Maybe it's Cello Egan. Maybe it's a midfielder like Rodrigo de Paul who has the freedom to get forward. And then protect your back line with the defensive midfielder that can actually defend in transition. And that's Yannick Bright. This is how I think you set this team up for success. And you can't have Busquets be your anchor because he's not athletic enough to stop defensive transitions. You have to have center backs that are pacey, that aren't going to get beat one-on-one if the ball's over the top. And then I think you actually keep Ustadi in goal because his biggest advantage is his instinct when it comes to sweeping up behind. So I think that's how this team should be playing. Um, 25 yards higher up the pitch. And then, by the way, if you win the ball in the midfield, you are already in a position to be dangerous and you get the ball to Messi instead of him having to run 20 yards to get into a position of danger. He's already in a position of danger. I just think the team has to play 20 yards higher up the pitch. And you have to risk getting beat behind. And I like if that's your response to
You can
me,
create contingencies. You can put in two defensive-minded midfielders, set up the
and you
team in a
get
way that
you
to
get
prevent transitions.
defenders,
Yeah,
you get
exactly.
defenders that are good at that.
hmm
And by the way, you have
Exactly.
a couple. Like that's what Toto Aviles is good at, is chasing guys down in one-on-one transitions and making that
And he
tackle.
had that moment once where I think he, Maxi Falcone went with Kai Kamara, and then they got in behind, but
Yeah, and he
Toto
swept it
Aviles
up.
swept. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, that's what he's good at. And Noah Allen has the pace for that. Ian Frey can do that.
I miss Noah Allen.
And by the way, when you do that, you stop fouling so much in the other end of the field. You stop giving up so many corners. And so you're not as susceptible to set pieces, which is another big problem Inter Miami has that the coaching staff seemingly has done nothing to fix. So it's out there for them. Miami King says, not conservative, Scotty. If you keep bad players, how do you win? They don't have bad players. They have good players. They have very good players. Steve Munoz says Mascherano is an easy scapegoat when the real issue is on Moss and the fake sporting director hire of Messi. That's the real issue. Live by the sword, die by the sword. My only response to that is the only thing you can fix now is the coaching staff.
That's not happening.
Tunde says last season we had a better manager with the midfield, 3 and actual wingers and variation in our attack. So what do you think about this one? Wookie says they had the lowest number of shots on goal in the league.
That's what I'm saying. And you mentioned this, man. We're trying to be so. What's the word? We're playing roulette with no dice. We're just hoping that the 2 or 3 shots that we create are so clinical that we score every single time. We're not gambling on creating more opportunities. And that's where we are at.
And by the way,
We're just
everyone
not
gets in bad
gambling.
form. Everyone gets yourself in bad form because you never take chances. You're bad at the chances when you do get them. Jerry says a contending team does not play so boring and so predictably and so bad. This team is predictable. It's messy or die. It's not good. Did you see, says Niaz, Mascherano smiling when we were 2-0 down?
No, did not. But not surprised.
Let's end on a positive. I'm going to run through the chats in a second and see if there's any subjects we missed. But
Yannick Bright's back, baby. That's what we should talk about.
Tunde says Lord Lujan made his return. Yannick Bright's back. Didn't do much. He had 1 turnover, but I mean the game was out of reach. I don't think we learned anything other.
He had a good vertical pass into Fafa Pico, who then tried to pass it into Jordi Alba, who was just not in the right spot.
Nick Smith says the announcer was lost for words as to why the stars weren't being subbed. Anton says Ian Frank Calendar can't come back soon enough. You know the thing about Calendar, it would be a change. Okay, let me ask you this, and then I'll run through the rest of the chats and see what we've missed. What would you like to see from Javier Mascherano?
What you just described 5 minutes ago about how this team should play. That's what I would like to see from Javier Mascherano. I want Javier Mascherano to use the whole squad. I want Javier Mascherano to trust the offense in this team to allow them to express themselves. I want Javier Mascherano to put this team higher up the pitch so that at least, even if we're vulnerable slightly going the other way, we do create opportunities on goal. I want Javier Mascherano to loosen the shackles that he's put on this team. So much. I can keep going. But yeah, basically that.
Leo Alfonso is made for MLS play, says Edson, but Mascherano is clueless. And, you know, I think I said this already. There's plenty of guys on this team that are good enough to play in the MLS and to give your guys a rest or to give them 60 minutes off. Mascherano doesn't trust them. And whether it's Alan Obando or Leo Alfonso or Santi Morales or David Ruiz or, Ian Frey was on the bench for a long time and Toto Avila spent a long time on the bench and David Martinez spent a lot of time on the bench. Like there's a lot of talent on this roster. And we call it the deepest roster in MLS. Less so since they traded Robert Taylor and Julian Gressel, but still right up there. Still probably the deepest team, but only because of the players we know are good enough. But oftentimes Mascherano doesn't want to use them. So sorry, there's so many chats, and I just want to thank you all because this is just awesome. Okay, I didn't want to get to this earlier, but Saur, as I'm going through, this is an interesting one. Manny says, "Let's be honest, this team plus RDP and the coaching staff, we're not winning anything." What do you think about RDP joining this team?
He's not going to change the fundamental aspects of tactics and philosophy, right? He may change a few things here and there, but overall, I think we're still going to play in a similar manner. We're going to do the same things on the pitch. And I fear that RDP is going to become just another wheel in the cog that is Javi Mascherano's machine. He may change a few things for the first 4 or 5 games, perhaps, but in the grand scheme, I think he will not solve these issues.
I think the only solution he provides, I do think we might get a temporary bump, an infusion, a fresh sort of energy. But the only thing I think might be a long-term change with him is if his insertion on the roster forces Mascherano to play a different formation that ends up making us play a different style. Like I mentioned, that 3-5-2. If you put him,
Yeah.
like because we have so many midfielders, he decides I have to have more midfielders and less sort of wide forwards, and it just becomes like a systemic issue, a systemic change because adding him forces that. What I want to say is though, like I want to go back to when we started to lose form. Mascherano did try a couple things for a couple games, and it did bring out a bad form. You remember when Jordi Alba and Ian Frey got to play and they're playing high up the pitch for like a few games, and then all of a sudden we started scoring more goals, and then we went from losing 3-0 to drawing 3-3 to winning 5-1. Like it all spiraled back into good form when we started trying to do the things that we are talking about right now. And it carried into the Club World Cup. I mean, Ian Frey, that first half against Al Ahly was like playing as a winger. And then here we are. Like we get some wins, and then it just gets more and more and more conservative until you get this. And by the way, would it surprise you if we lost our next 2 games?
No, not at all. I think
We
it's a
played-
cycle. We'll lose like 4 games in a row, then Javi Mascherano will change something, then we'll win 8
Then
in a
Messi
row.
will get upset enough
Yeah.
he'll say, "Okay, I'm going to fix this myself."
Uh,
The New York Red Bulls are 8th place. That's who we play this weekend. It's on the road. They have 30 points on the season. They're a solid but not great team. We already beat them 4-1 at home. So we'll see. But then we play the Cincinnati team again. Do we have to be afraid of Cincinnati moving forward?
yeah, of course. They were so good tonight. They're going to wreck us if we play like this again.
I agree. I think they're not only, I think, should we be afraid of them, but going to TQL Stadium, I think, is something we should be afraid of. So when we're talking about trying to win the Supporters Shield, trying to get first place in the East, I think this is something to be nervous about. Anton says, if Jam is afraid of the Barca boys, wouldn't the Barca boys insist on a more aggressive style? It's an interesting question. What do you think?
I don't know, man. This is getting way past my pay grade now, and it's already 10:30. Yeah, I'm ready for bedtime. Javi Mascherano is, yeah. Anton stopped me there. I don't know. I just don't think it's within Javi Mascherano's philosophy to play an aggressive style. I don't think the Barca boys are trying to impose a specific style on them, but I think he's unwilling to make changes when it comes to substitutions, when it comes to the tacit side of football, not the tactical side of football, when it comes to rotation, when it comes to managing minutes, when it comes to bringing someone off. I think he is unable to have his say, and he's unwilling to coach those players. But when it comes to putting his tactical footprint on the team, I think the Barca boys allow him to do it because he's still the coach, and that's where the incongruency is between the two.
I think Messi doesn't want to be the coach. I think if he wanted to be the
Exactly.
coach,
So
he would
he's
be the coach.
allowing him to have that philosophy and that tactics. But when it comes to the smaller aspects of coaching, like bringing him off at the 60th minute mark or not playing Suarez in one game, he's not going to do that.
No, I think if Messi, like, I don't think Messi wants to watch film on his opponents in depth for hours on his days off. Like, I think he wants someone to do that for him so that he doesn't have to think about it. I also think that, I think if you're a player, it can be harder sometimes to see the bigger issues because you're so focused on your own game. You're so focused on, things that can be fixed. Like, you just see the game in a different way. And I think that's one of the reasons it's hard for coaches to sort of, like, to be a player and then immediately transition into being a coach without sort of real coaching experience or a mentor to help guide you. Some people can do it, of course, but it's tough because when you're a player, you see the game a certain way and you're used to evaluating opponents and evaluating weaknesses in certain ways that as a coach, you have to be different. And I also think like Mascherano generally has a temperament to be more conservative, and that comes out in his coaching. Sorry. I'm running through the last ones. It's just there's so many great chats that I don't want to miss any interesting topics. Tunde made an interesting point. He says about stretching the back line. Why is it always Allende? Why isn't it the striker? And again, it's talking about why it's Suarez' fault and a new striker would
Because
fix
Suarez
things.
doesn't have the pace in him to stretch the field out. They'll
It
just
doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be your striker. It can be your full. It can be
yeah,
Jordi Alba.
yeah.
It doesn't have to be Allende.
The pitch can be stretched out this way and it can be stretched out this way. So there are two ways to stretch the pitch out.
Mistiano says Allende has a Medusa touch. Turns to stone. Turns everything to stone. AZ says people are doing Tata revisionism. I want to be clear about this because I do think it's important to have a long-term memory, not just a short-term memory. We had reservations about Tata as well. And I don't necessarily think it was wrong to try something new to see if you could get something better. And I think that's what they did. They could have kept Tata if they really wanted to. Like, whatever Tata wanted, they didn't want to give it to him. And that is why he left. And I'm not sure what Tata asked for was like particularly unreasonable. That said, they thought they could get someone better. If that's your mindset, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt that that was their mindset, you have to be big enough to realize you made a mistake and handle it. So, listen, it's just a loss, one loss against one of the best teams in the league. I think if this was all it was, we would be able to write it off. We might give a little bit harsher criticism towards Cello or Allende or Rocco maybe because of this goal or that goal. I just think it's really frustrating because this is how they've been playing for a long time. And we've been getting away with it because Messi's amazing. But we kind of knew this was going to happen relatively soon.
It's a long time coming. And I'll end this by saying the way we started it. The chickens have come home to roost.
Guys, I think Saur is falling asleep on camera. I don't think my eyes have been this red since we did a 3-hour pregame show. So why don't we end it there? We will be back soon for the post-game recap. I will reread all the chats and see if there's any topics we missed, and I will make sure we talk about them in the recap if we didn't get to it. But till then, guys, please have a good night. This is not the most important thing in the world, and I hope that we gave you an outlet to get a little hair therapy. If that's the case, I'm happy to have done it. We will see you guys next time, and have a great night. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.